You are listening to Radio Cosmos.
All night long.
Bravo!
My compliments, little lady.
Commercial!
Break for 30 seconds.
Commercial!
You are now listening to BaaD Radio.
Hello and welcome to BaaD Radio. BaaD stands for Business at a Distance. This is a show about local businesses and business networking. We are here in the News Radio WFLA Orlando studios from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. every Sunday. Well, it's been a long time since the guest we have in today has been here, so please welcome Zachary Edler with Impact Electric.
Good morning, everybody.
And if I remember correctly, I think that you were my very first guest of the very first show we ever did. Is that right?
I think I was.
Right. So you were right. It's been a long time. But welcome back.
Thank you.
This is the first time you've been in this studio with us.
Yes, first time here, and thanks for having me back.
Absolutely. Are your headphones okay?
Yeah,
Are
I
they
think
giving
so.
you a hard time?
I'm
Sorry.
working on it.
Okay.
I'm not used to wearing earmuffs.
That's what they do feel like that. But after a while, you get used to them. So thanks for being in today. So yes, things have changed. We just launched into our 4th year. So so the audience knows Zach is one of my first sponsors. And so I have like my first sponsor check. I took a little picture of it, and I have it. I don't have it in a frame, but I have it like in a little thing because it's really special because that, the sponsors are what made this whole show possible. And the fact that we're now going into our 4th year, it just shows that it's been successful. Mm-hmm. So can't thank you enough for that. But also, man, what's been going on with the Impact? You guys are growing. I mean, you got a lot going on over there.
Yeah, we're definitely experiencing quite the growth currently, which we're very blessed to be experiencing. Mm-hmm. And it's really been a heck of a ride. I know we talked about the wild ride and the wild feeling that we were having last time I was on, and it's certainly continued, and we've enjoyed every second of it.
Right. So let's rewind to 4 years ago. Impact Electric had about how many employees? This is like right around COVID time, I believe.
We were probably somewhere between 3 and 5 employees at the time. And we were real, close-knit. We were obviously a lot smaller than what we are now.
Right.
And it was a strange time back then, as we all remember. We had a lot of PPE protocols and stuff like that to make sure that we were servicing our customers right, which we still have those protocols activated because they really became second nature to us.
What does that mean?
Personal protective equipment, et cetera. So, we have that stuff for what we do in our industry, but we were also taking extra precautions during that time, wiping down our tools, making sure all of that stuff. And, all that stuff, a lot of it's still in play because it became such second nature to my guys.
Yeah.
Out of care for our homeowners and business owners that we were servicing,
Well, during that time, people, there was a big pop in a lot of home improvement stuff, right?
There was a huge explosion that really blindsided most of the industry, I would say. And, a lot of that came from the equity line of credits that homeowners were able to obtain at such low interest rates.
Oh, see, I thought it was just because they were at home at board and they didn't have anything to do. So they're like, let's do this project.
It was kind of the perfect blend
right.
Because, you go in if you work traditionally in an office space or out in the field, something along those lines, you're typically only home in the evening times.
Right.
So you get home and typically it takes you an hour and a half to get wound down from the day.
And then get dinner and all the things.
Dinner, shower up.
Yeah.
And you're really only looking at your residence maybe for 45 minutes or an hour before you're in the master bedroom or wherever you lay your head down. And it took a lot of people who were used to working in office spaces, and now they were around their residences for 14 hours a day. Mm-hmm. And they started to see a lot of things that they wanted to change or maybe had the opportunity to make their own. And it was really the perfect storm for us contractors with that happening, as well as those equity line of credits at such low interest rates. A lot of homeowners had the opportunities.
That. It was like down 2, 3, 4%.
Right.
Yeah.
So it really allowed a lot of people to expand what they've dreamt of doing, and it turned into a lot of whole home remodels. It wasn't just a kitchen or a hall bathroom.
Right.
It was entire residences, flooring, paint, lighting, cabinetry, countertop. I mean, it was just absolutely a mad dash. The floodgates were open and we were off and running.
Well, I have to admit that we were kind of guilty of that with the HELOC, and we redid a lot of stuff in the house, and then Ian came, and kind of sabotaged a lot of that.
I remember when that came through, what you guys went through.
It was awful. Nothing electrical, just flood, and we're not in a flood zone, so we didn't have flood insurance, and it was groundwater. It wasn't wind-driven rain, so we had no case. So it kind of changed the whole dynamic of what we had to do with the house, which was a pain in the butt. But anyway, so so now how many employees do you have? I mean, I went and saw one of the houses that you're working on, and I saw quite a few Impact Electric shirts.
Oh yeah, it is pretty wild when we're on a large project where I have multiple crews now, and I show up and to see the evolution of where we started and where we're at now. I mean, it just feels like I have men everywhere on a job site now when I show up, and it's a really proud feeling as the owner of Impact Electric to show up and see that many men wearing our brand out in the field executing electrical work. It's something I'm very proud of. Yeah,
well, I'd like to talk about the process of how that works. So you said you have 2 crews now?
We have 4 crews now is what we have.
Okay.
So we're up to 10 or 11 field guys. We got a full-time office manager who assists me, and then myself who floats back and forth. I tend to get pulled into more meetings and preparation and laying the jobs out.
Than actually doing a lot of the physical work.
Yeah, and what I'll do is if we fall slightly behind on a project, I'll step in, help crews out. I love working with my crews still. It's a
Have you got the feeling back in your hands yet?
Yeah, so I did. I actually go to a chiropractor over in Winter Garden. He got the feeling back in my hands quite a few years ago.
You have to tell that story real quick. It's for being shocked so many times as an electrician.
We had a chiropractor in our B&I group, Michael St. Louis over at Atlas Injury to Health over in Winter Garden.
Yeah.
And we had 2 children. My wife was pregnant with our third. And at this time, my hands were so numb from what I do for a living. I've never felt any of my kids kick. And I went into him. He started treating me. And when my wife was pregnant with Theodore, our youngest, it was the first time I've ever felt one of my kids kick.
Well,
and it was the first time I've ever felt my wife's hand actually in my palm.
Oh my gosh! I just remember you saying you're holding a glass and it just went like whoop.
Oh yeah, and that would happen often where I would think I had a firm grip on a glass and I would drop it in the kitchen.
Wow!
And to feel my wife's palm in my hand.
That's so sweet. You're gonna make me cry. Stop.
Yeah,
it's like all sweetness.
It's pretty remarkable what he does and how he makes you feel, and I can definitely tell the duration between adjustments, et cetera. It's pretty crazy.
So from the shocking, like from getting zapped.
Well, it's more from the adjustments and what he can do to the top of your neck. He specializes in a way that not many chiropractors in Florida specialize in.
Right.
And it's pretty incredible how I feel since he's been.
Well, it's not just about the zapping part. You guys it's a very physical job. Because I remember talking to you at one point, and you're like, we spend a lot of time like digging.
Oh yeah, we're always we trench a lot. We do a lot of undergrounds. Everything we do, which tools have come such a long ways, even in my 15+ year career. But you're constantly turning and cranking on a screwdriver, on a wrench, on even though we have drills and we have all the Milwaukee equipment that my guys need to make their quality of work life the best it can be, it's still a lot of manual labor. I mean, there's months in the summer when we're out in the field working and we don't feel AC unless you're at your own residence, being at home.
Well, I can see, like I said, where a chiropractic visit can help that out a lot too.
Yeah, without a doubt. And, so it's just kind of wild, the kind of wear and tear that our bodies take being in the construction industry. And, when you're younger, you feel like you're bulletproof. And I talk to my guys all the time, and we utilize, Emily Murphy and make sure that
Emily was on like 2 weeks ago, I think.
Yeah. And, and it's important to look at those things, not only for your day in and day out performance, but also the longevity of how we're going to feel after we do this for 20, 25, 30 years.
Yeah. Amen to that. Well, you know what? We're going to go to break. And then when we get back, I want to kind of let's rewind and talk about when you said 15 years. Let's talk about when you started in your field. So everybody stay tuned. We have more BaaD Radio coming up. Welcome back. And this portion of BaaD Radio is brought to you by Premier Couples Superstore. Valentine's Day is almost here. So now is the time to visit Premier Couples Superstore because they have got a huge selection of lingerie, toys, love oils, and even flower petals to spread across the bed. 5009 South OBT or shop online at premiercouples.net because a couple that plays together stays together.
Oh, yeah.
Please welcome Zachary Edler with Impact Electric. And he's had to sit through that a couple of times. But he still kind of turned red a little bit there.
Yep.
Oh, but you know what? Premier's been a good, solid sponsor, and I will always thank them for always supporting the show. And you know, sometimes when the owner will text me and I'll be like, "Are you telling me that you want me to promote flower petals?" And she's like, "Yep." I'm like, "You got it. You got it." So before we went to break, I talked about kind of like the beginnings of your career. Mm-hmm. So let's go back. I know you're from Winter Springs because we talk baseball a lot. You know a lot of my son's baseball coaches and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. So is that where you grew up in Winter Springs?
Yeah, so I grew up in Winter Springs and graduated from Winter Springs High School. Mm-hmm. And, you know, at first it was a summer job.
Oh, okay. That's how you got started?
Yeah, that's how I got started. So I was working in the summer before I left for college. And then when I'd come home from playing ball in college, I would work on all my breaks, any opportunity that I got. And, you know, early on, it was I call it now the industry high, mm-hmm. you know, because every day's different. Every, routine, don't get me wrong, we put in a lot of recessed cans as an example, but laying them out in a residence or a business is completely different.
Well, because every house is different.
Exactly. And every house is framed slightly different. The furniture's set up differently. So, we really take pride in being that professional on behalf of our homeowners or business owner that we're servicing and take time to lay it out the right way mm-hmm. because lighting within a space can really change how that space feels.
Absolutely.
It can really make you from being a moody individual to being very energetic, happy, etc. You could get headaches from having bad lighting throughout your residence mm-hmm. or your workspace, etc. So I really caught that industry high early on because it was so different every day. It was repetitive, but not mundane repetitive.
Yeah. Well, were you scared at all though?
Well, I mean, if you're being taught by the right individuals, which all of my crew leads, myself, in my company, we take safety very seriously of our guys. I don't want to call any of my men's parents and tell them that their son is either hurt or their son's no longer with us.
What's the worst you've ever got zapped? I'll tell you mine after you tell me yours.
I've gotten hit pretty hard with, it was a range circuit. It was the end of a day. We were going in to replace a range receptacle, and I was tired. I put my knees on the ground, which is the worst thing you can do as an electrician because you're giving it a path to ground.
Oh, grounded. I've heard that before.
And so the gentleman I was working with told me it was off. The breaker was mislabeled by somebody else, and it was still live, and I never checked it. And I got hit pretty hard. It went up through both my arms, through my chest, and I'll never forget it.
How long did it take you to kind of be able to
It was probably felt a lot longer than what it was, but it felt like eternity.
I've never felt anything like it before. I was running, this was just like I was at an office job, and I wanted to, anyway, I was running a cord through a wall mm-hmm. because I didn't want to wait for somebody else mm-hmm. to do it because I'm stubborn. And I had a screwdriver and I stuck it in there and it zapped my arm and it flung my arm back. The screwdriver went flying uh-huh. and there was nobody in the office, so nobody saw me. And I just sat there for a little while and my hand, I don't even know how to describe what it felt like, but it scared me.
And it can happen. What we always talk to about our guys, especially our new guys that we're intensely training, you can find yourself in a situation you never anticipated being very quickly, mm-hmm. And you could get hurt very quickly by not realizing or understanding what you're doing. Every movement, every action you do is done with a purpose.
Sure.
With a methodical thought behind it.
Right.
You know? And if not, you can get hurt real quick in any aspect of construction. You know.
Well, I meant in just contractor
Right.
Stuff at all. If,
Yeah.
like you're on roofs, you're you're all over the place, and if you're not careful, you can get hurt.
Right. Absolutely.
So, no, that, like I said, that's what I was wondering is like if that ever deters any of your guys where they're like, oh man, I'm just not a fan of the electricity thing.
Well, there's been some guys over the years of my career that have chosen that it's not the right industry for them, which I completely understand. Right. And there's been some along the ways where we've had to sit down and have hard conversations, and I've had to tell them that, you know, for their own safety, because you have to be, and that's the other part of that industry high that we were talking about, you know, you have to be so engaged and focused on what you're doing that, you know, days, weeks, months, years pass like a blink because you're so concentrated in what you're doing that time just flies by.
Right.
You know, and it's an industry I personally think that's different than a lot of the other sub-trades, and sub-trades being mechanical, electrical, plumbing. Right. And the reason being is we're getting so involved electrically in these dwellings, being residential or commercial nowadays with technology advancements, that it's you can really lose yourself in a day, and it's quite enjoyable.
Well, I think that's awesome. So it started with a summer thing, and then you were kind of like, okay, I like this, and then you started to move forward.
Yep.
And so in order to be an electrician, what kind of schooling is there for that?
There's schools that are I think it's MIT.
They're trade schools,
yeah,
right?
they're trade schools, and then Seminole State also offers one.
Very nice. Yeah.
So, you know, myself as an employer, I do encourage my guys to go to it. It's something that we offer, and we will cover the cost of doing so if they elect to do it. The challenging part about that is it's night classes. So a lot of guys work out in the heat all day long. You're tired.
They do it online at all, or
no, they don't do it online because the schooling itself is hands-on.
Makes sense.
So, you know, you can go that route, or you can go years on kind of like OJT type training. Mm-hmm. So years experience under a master electrician or electrical contractor, and then you can also qualify for your test.
What's the difference between an electrical contractor and a master electrician?
So a master electrician has his license. An electrical contractor owns the company.
Okay.
So most electrical...
But you don't have to be one to be the other.
Well, you can be an electrical contractor and own the company, but not be the master electrician who holds the license, to my knowledge. Mm-hmm. But most of the small business owners that do what I do are one of the same.
Okay.
They hold the master electrician's license, and then they're also the electrical contractor.
And that's
being
you.
the owner. Yes.
Okay. And so when did you decide to launch Impact Electric?
So we had the plan, or my desire, you know, I was probably 6 years in the trade. Mm-hmm. And I really, it all started to really click, and really to, you know, I have this drive. This is what I want to do for the rest of my life, you know. And what I found, why that kind of clicked, is I wake up every day and I want to be a breath of fresh air for homeowners and business owners.
Love it.
You know, we hear so many horror stories on, I gave this guy a deposit, he never showed up. This guy oversold me, underperformed. You know what I mean?
Right. No, I do. I hear it all the time.
I want to not only be that breath of fresh air in the electrical industry, but also assist with referrals from other sub-trades that people are looking for, AC contractor, plumbers, roofers, whatever it may be, and be able to assist them with reliable referrals,
right?
That you know, can help them with whatever situation that they're in.
Well, that's really cool, because like that's why BNI is good for us,
right?
Like business owners like us, because a lot of times those people are vetted,
right?
And I've had more success with BNI referrals than I've had not.
Of course,
I've had a few stinkers, but I meant not enough to deter me from like always referring,
right?
Always referring.
And you know, everybody always says to me, they go, Zach, how big do you want to get, or what do you want to be?
We want to answer.
That's something we could talk about when we come back.
I want to know the answer to that question. All right, so everybody stay tuned. We have more BaaD Radio coming up. Welcome back, and this portion of BaaD Radio is brought to you by Body Street of Winter Park. Experience the future of fitness at Body Street in Winter Park. Lose weight, build muscle, tone your body in only 20 minutes a week. Visit bodystreet.us, where fitness meets efficiency. And then please welcome Zachary Edler with Impact Electric. I was waiting for that my little sound bite. Ken, what happened?
Yeah, we got to get that from your buddy over there.
Anyway, the owners of Impact are the owners of Body Street are both, they're from Germany.
Okay.
And so do you remember the old Hans and Franz he's going to do like a little sound bite from that. Oh, I remember now. We were actually going to get them to record it. Now I remember. Okay. All right. So we're here with, like I said, with Zachary Edler with Impact Electric. And where did we left off? And you started to talk about, isn't it crazy how it's like all of a sudden we like get sidetracked? And you were starting to tell a story, but now I'm like drawing a blank.
Yeah. So you know, a lot of the homeowners or business owners that we service, I've serviced for a very long time.
Right. So they're repeat.
And they've seen the evolution and the growth within our brand, you know, and a lot of them are very, I shouldn't say a lot of them, all of them are very excited and proud that we service them and that they're a part of what we're doing, you know, and they always ask me, Zach, how big do you guys want to get?
That's a good question.
And, you know, for me, it's not a chase after how big I want to get. Mm-hmm. It goes back to what I said before the commercial break, you know, on being a breath of fresh air. You know, what I want is, if you have an electrical problem, the first name that pops in your mind is, I'm going to call Impact Electric.
Yeah.
You know, if you hear your neighbors having a problem, I want the first name that comes out of your mouth as a referral and as a recommendation of them is to have that trust in us to say, hey, call Impact Electric.
Actually, they're gonna. You've got that with me, and so for BaaD marketing, like I just took that leave in October. Mm-hmm. Now I've had the Business at a Distance LLC since back when you and I first started. But I've never. Let's just say I made a lot of other people a lot of money for a long time, and so, but what I get scared about, and I don't know if you feel the same way as a business owner, is that if we get too big, then you start to lose that personal touch, that little. I like the word boutique for what I do, but for you, it's not really applicable. But do you ever get scared that the bigger you get, that you're not going to be able to have you're going to be able to delegate it out and be able to sleep at night? And
and you know, it's something that when I get down and I pray daily, it's an ask of mine to not lose who I am, to not lose who Impact Electric is, to not lose what we were founded on.
Right.
And you know, I rely on my guys that I've trained that are my nucleus, and I say my nucleus because that was our foundation.
Right.
And
so the guys that are like your nucleus are the ones that have been here since the beginning?
From the beginning.
And let's talk about your team a little bit.
And so, you know, from the beginning it was Jake and Kyle, and they were with me. They've been with me for a long time. And you know, when we started, we sat at the table and we had nothing. And we started this with our backs against the walls, and we've built it to what it is, and they believe in treating people the right way as I do, as I instilled in them, bringing them up in the career and in the industry, and you know, it's really a contagious mindset that goes out amongst our men that wear the same brand, one brand. That we're going to treat people the right way. We're going to treat people how we want our parents treated. Mm-hmm. And at the end of the day, the people we're servicing know that we're doing what's right by them.
I have this thought in my head that when I think of you and your employees, I think of, I don't know why, but it's always a work hard, play hard. Mm-hmm. And I kind of, because I've listened to stories of you tell me about, you're like, you know what? Like I said, I ask a lot of you, but I'm also going to take really good care of you. Is that kind of the way it still is?
Yeah, you know, and my guys are my family, truly, you know, that. And I tell them all the time, the brand means more than electrical work. The brand is nothing without the characteristics, the morals and values, and the makeup of who my men are as men. Mm-hmm. My men make me a better man every day.
Right.
And that's the quality of employees that I'm looking for when we're constantly interviewing and getting inquiries and resumes set over. Are you a good person?
That's a really good question to ask.
It means far more to me than anything you can do electrically. Are you a good person?
Well, I get the feeling that you can read people pretty well too, because I was talking to somebody the other day about how people can just they do great on interviews, but once you get them in the field or whatever, you're like, okay, you are not the person that you represented. Mm-hmm. But like I said, I get the feeling that you're the type of person that can see through that stuff anyway.
And we have this conversation in a lot of our small business owner groups. Mm-hmm. When you find yourself in that position, when you find yourself with that or a possibility of an employee that may not be meshing well with your current staff, it doesn't mean that they're not a great person. Right. They just don't mesh well with your staff, and you can't allow that to continue.
No.
Because the staff I have now have sacrificed with me for many years and have bled with me out on job sites for many years to get our brand where it is today. It has to keep that. We've really built a sports camaraderie type team.
Well, they're very polite.
Well, I beat them. But they are, because, we yes, sir, no, sir, we yes, ma'am, no, ma'am. And
they do.
And it's how I was raised. That goes back to how my folks raised me. And that's how my wife and I are raising our children. And I just believe that that's the American way. I believe that's how it should be, and that's how it will be as long as I'm the head of this company.
I love it, and I agree. Like I believe in sitting down for dinner and the family first kind of thing.
And when we go into a restaurant as a company, we sit down, we have breakfast or we have lunch together. There's no hats on at the table. Mm-hmm. It's once again, it's how I was raised. They know better than to walk into my home for Thanksgiving or Christmas dinner and sit down at my table with a hat on, and the same goes for a restaurant. You take your hat off and you put it on your knee.
Yep.
And so but Kyle and Jake and Corey and Josh and Devin, all of those guys have that same viewpoint and mentality, and that's
why they work for you.
Right.
I mean, that's why they work as part of your team, because if they don't, then they're just not going to make it.
Yeah, but in those guys having that same mentality and having it so deep to their core as a belief is what is going to continue to help us grow. Because we're not going to continue to grow based off of what my aspirations are. It's based off of what our aspirations are as a company.
Right. I now that I think about it, we never did answer that question of how big do you want to get it?
I'm willing to follow what his plan is for us. And what that is, I don't know, because if you would ask me 5 years ago, I would have never thought we would be where we are today.
Right. But you're happy. You like it.
We're very happy. We're very thankful for the blessings and the individuals and business owners and couples that we're honored to service. It is never something that is taken for granted when someone calls us for electrical service. We're honored to receive that call and answer that bell on service that's needed.
One of the things I thought was so cool is that where things are in my house with not even being at my house. You're like, what year was your house built? It's like 1980. You're like, go into the garage. Over here, there's going to be this button, and press it, and then because we have because our house is that thing where you have two bathrooms close.
When your house was wired, it was middle, kind of through the 80s, but I think your house in particular was like middle to late 80s, if I'm not mistaken.
No, it's actually 1980 itself.
Okay, so 1980. So then they wired the garage on with both of the bathrooms.
I know.
So when you lost power in the master vanity, I said, go out to the garage, reset your GFI receptacle, and then power was restored, But that goes back to really caring about helping out homeowners.
But that's a lot to know. But anyway, we'll talk more about that when we get back. Everybody stay tuned. We have more BaaD Radio coming up. Welcome back. And the portion of the show is brought to you by Ground Up Property Services. Do you know what your sprinkler system did last night? Probably not. So now's a good time to get your irrigation service by Ground Up Property Services today. Be sure to ask Rick Hall with Ground Up about a water sensor too, so your lawn doesn't get too much water. Call 407-468-4295 or visit groundupinc.net. And we're here with Zachary. I always wanted to say Zachary Edler. I usually call you Zach, but Zachary Edler with Impact Electric. And Zach and I have been friends for a long time, and I've watched his business grow, and he's actually done quite a bit of work at our house. And one of the things that we talked about earlier in the show, which, what we were just talking about is your knowledge of a house. But then if you have to think about not just the knowledge of the house, but the knowledge of lighting. Mm-hmm. And when I went to the house that you're working on, and I saw it, it's basically a beautiful house that's being gutted and rebuilt, right? Yep. And I'm looking at what your guys are doing as far as laying down the wires that's going to be behind the walls. Yep. I honestly, I was blown away, and I would be so nervous to have the responsibility of making sure, because this guy's like rolling cable out. I'm like, okay, that's going to be responsible. They have to make sure that they do it right. Yep. Or because once everything's laid in here, if it's not done right, then you got to rip things up.
Then you got to cut drywall, and it starts to get very expensive, And when you visited that job site the other day on that residential project, that was the start of, the implementation of many, many hours of the design team, the owners, myself.
So is that how that works? You guys all get together?
So we all get together, many online meetings, laying out room by room specific, sconces, recessed cans, chandeliers.
Do you have to be responsible for going to get the lighting, or does they work with that and they say, we want this here and this here and this here?
So typically what we do is we work as a team with the designers and the owners. Okay. And then we start to lay out the wall sconces. So any decor style fixture, typically the owners work with the design team to procure those materials. Mm-hmm. But I enjoy, that's my favorite part of this industry, is the design aspect.
Is it really?
Of it. Yeah. And because that's the most crucial stage.
Oh, it looks scary, man, because I was like, I saw all those wires.
Right.
And your guy was like, this one's electrical, that one, but this one's for this and that. And I was like, oh my God.
Yeah. So then because once we get to that point that you saw, all of my design phase with the design team being the interior design firms of the owners choosing, and myself, it's all done, right? So, and that's the best time to do it, because once my men go out to the job site and start laying wires in, running wires throughout residences and businesses, it starts to get expensive when you want to start to make changes at that point, So I really enjoy the design side of things, where we can make sure we're getting the proper fixtures selected, the placement selected, because that also behooves the efficiency on the job site once my guys start running wires, because we got a set of plans that are bulletproof.
Right.
We got a set of plans that have everything laid out, the dimensions, the distances between recessed can to recessed can, because on the preliminary side of the project, we've sorted through all of that. And that's where a lot of my time's placed nowadays.
And that's kind of like, okay, so we're going to be working in the master bedroom, and we know that we're going to have 2 light wall fixtures, so we need this type of wire, and it needs to be this length, and then you assign it to somebody?
Yeah, well, so, say, for instance, like a master bedroom, and we could use that project as an example. You enter the master bedroom, you got wall sconces, you got a center chandelier, you got cove lighting, for uplighting with LED tape light. And then as you continue in, you have some art fixtures being just above pieces of art, recessed cans in the ceiling, in the master sleeping, quarters. Sure. You got recessed cans in there. We got corner mounted oscillating fans. Oh, so there's a lot of stuff going on. And we haven't even started talking about...
And that's the part that you like?
Yeah. But I like it because I feel like that's very important to my guys' quality of work life. If I can sort all that stuff out, then they just have to execute the plan.
Right.
That's on paper. It's bulletproof. I've thought about it. I've digested it. This is what we're doing. Now go attack it.
Right. Do you like have different phases and you call them different? Like we're in phase 1, which is whatever.
So like the phase you saw the other day, no drywall, we're out running wires. That's our rough in phase.
Rough in?
Yep,
okay.
Rough in phase. So we're roughing everything in. We're running our wires. We're mounting the boxes. And then the flooring and the drywall and all of that stuff goes up. And then we have our trim out phase, we call it.
Okay.
And that's when we put the actual recessed cans in that you see when you walk into a house, the finished product.
Okay.
We hang all the fixtures and do all of that stuff. And then when we're done with the trim out, the owners get final CO and move in.
Wow. So is there any sort of like certified person that has to come in and look at everything and give you check off?
So, what happens is we'll come up with a preliminary design with the interior design company that's selected on the project. And then it typically gets kicked over to an architect or an engineer or a draftsman. They review everything, make sure everything looks good. They'll do the panel layouts and the load calcs and all of that stuff, and then they'll stamp it and we'll submit it to the jurisdictions for permitting.
The jurisdictions,
Yep.
which
So
is what?
City of Winter Park, Maitland, Orange County, Seminole County, et cetera.
Because I remember we just wanted to build in our little townhouse, we just wanted to build like a little overhang, and we had to get all these permits, and they had to come out and check this to make sure that we did this right. And I was like, geez, it's just like a little overhang.
It's can be quite cumbersome. It definitely is getting more and more so, as the years go on. It certainly seems like.
Well, and there's also timing.
Right.
Like there's time limitations. Like I remember with my insurance, they gave me like a very limited amount of time.
Well, and that's we're involved with so many different aspects of the electrical industry, but the last couple years there's been a lot of short notices to homeowners for insurance hindrances within the residence.
They want to drop you.
Well,
right?
they want to drop you, and part of the problem is there's been so many insurance companies that have vacated the state of Florida that the ones are here are trying to fill that vacuum void, but by doing so, they have so much more exposure. Their exposure's through the roof.
Right.
So their exposure goes up because they have so many more policies they're fulfilling, but they're trying to limit what their exposure is and what their potential payouts could be.
Right.
So a lot of the short notices that go out to homeowners, I don't disagree with them as being electrical items that need to be handled. What I disagree with is the timeline and the time frame they give homeowners.
Well, you had to do it, and then it had to be checked, and you had to get a permit in order to get that checked. And if you wouldn't have done it in that, you're like, if I can do it by this, I can get this date,
right.
which was like the day before it was due.
Yeah, well, we had to scramble.
Yeah.
There was no doubt about it. And, then there's a lot of homeowners out there that may grab the mail and throw it on the counter and not open until the weekend. And if you do that,
I've been guilty of that before.
you just lost 7 days of your 30-day period.
Right.
And then you got to contact us. We got to get the ball rolling. And so there's a lot of things.
That very much.
Yeah, but
Thank
there's
you.
a lot of things that go into that in 30 days, in my opinion, is just it's unrealistic on most cases.
Well, if you're relying on, especially like some other official to have to schedule a time to come approve it, then you can't dictate what their schedule is going to be.
Exactly. And then what that leads a lot of homeowners to calling around trying to get anybody and everybody who could be available. And then the panel gets replaced, showed a paid invoice to insurance company, for an example. Future 4-point comes up. They don't see a permit was pulled.
Ugh.
And then I get the phone call and they go, hey, Zach, can you come look at this work that somebody else did? It's not permitted. Can you permit it? And unfortunately, I can't permit someone else's work because I wasn't there when it was installed.
Right.
So the second I permit it, I take liability for that job that was executed by someone who elected not to pull a permit.
So what do they have to do? Pay to get it all done again?
Unfortunately. And that's why it's important to know who you're hiring and that they're going to do things the right way.
I can just see a whole lot of mess right there.
Yeah.
Well, we're going to go to break.
All right. Sounds good.
And when we get back, we'll have some more BaaD Radio, so stay tuned. Hello and welcome as we launch into the second hour of BaaD Radio. BaaD stands for Business at a Distance, and this is a show about local businesses and business networking. And we are here in the News Radio WFLA Orlando studios. Right now it's going to be noon to 1 p.m. So because this is the second hour, but we are here with Zachary Edler with Impact Electric, and we've been talking for the first hour, and we're going to talk for the second hour too, because when Zach first was on the show, I think that we had about 12 minutes to talk, and it never felt like enough. And so with the format of the way the show is now, is that we can actually really kind of dive deep into stuff, which has been fantastic. I love being able to hear stories. I love to find out, like even the name. How did you come up with Impact Electric?
It goes back to kind of what we were talking about in the first hour. We want to be a positive impact on individuals' lives. If it's, first and foremost on our men's lives who work for us, and who are a part of our company, but we also want to be a positive impact on who we're servicing.
I really love that.
And so when we were kicking around names, someone threw out Impact as we were all sitting around the table, and it really resonated with me on who I am and what we try to do in being a positive impact throughout our day.
You see, I never knew that. That's really cool, like a positive impact, and that's Impact Electric. So that, I love hearing stuff like that. I think that's really, really cool. So with it, like I said, we were talking about the different services. So let's just actually talk a little bit about all the different services that Impact Electric is currently doing, and some of the things that you're looking for, like in the future. So I meant, like, for us as a family, you have done an electrical box, which is extremely important, and you've done some lighting. And what else? There was something else. I can't remember. Anyway, so I know it was the lighting, my Harry Potter lighting, I call it.
Yep. Well, we did Tommy's Man Cave, right? We did lighting in there.
Okay.
And then we did the electrical panels that were needed to be done for insurance, and then we did the Harry Potter lighting right there in the hallway.
And that's one of the things that's so cool, is that lighting, like you were saying earlier, can change everything.
Right.
Like, I like that look. I like the flickery lights kind of look. And with the right fixtures, I mean, that's my happy room. That's like that room, our house is. It
lets you decompress and get away from the day. And it can really do that. If it's, where you work during the day, how you decompress in the evening time, lighting is everything.
Oh, you did our bathroom. That's what it was.
Oh, okay.
That's what it was.
So, but there's a lot of different things that lighting can do and change and either, enhance your mood, pull you out of a bad day, kind of goes back to that decompression type escape we were talking about. But it can really brighten up and make rooms feel larger than what they actually are as well. So lighting's crucial. We love that. We do so many different aspects of the electrical industry, from design to lighting jobs to remodels.
What about new construction?
So we do custom construction.
Okay.
So in custom construction, a lot of people will relate that to expensive. It is tailored specifically to the owner. So we don't do the cookie cutter neighborhoods, the track homes, the stuff like that. But we're involved with a lot of ground up builds, new construction builds.
So family buys a piece of property and
family buys a piece of property and they're working directly with an independent general contractor to build that house. And then the design phase starts, my favorite part of the industry. But, additions on a home we do a lot of. We do on the commercial side of things. We do LED retrofits throughout entire office spaces.
Well, I read that one review where it said that you came in and you actually found some things. Tell us about that.
So we went into a warehouse over in Castleberry, Longwood area, and we were doing warehouse lighting for inventory at this particular property.
Okay.
And when we were out there doing it, we found a lot of energized circuits up in this commercial ceiling that were not properly in J boxes, capped off, etc.
So they were live?
Yeah, they were live and energized. Just somebody decided to just leave them coiled up there. No wire nuts on them, no nothing, just live bare
Were they just
copper.
Like they're too high up for it to bother anything?
Well,
but isn't electricity like if it touches something else, it can
it certainly can. And the weird part, somebody was right next to it and decided to leave it at that, because you don't run a wire to nothing. So you ran that wire or you removed a fixture that was up there and just left it. But even on that property, we're always looking to assist our prospective business owner or homeowner that we're servicing, and we were able to repurpose some fixtures in there and move some fixtures around. And when we moved them from one location to the other, the owner had a different design and fixture style for there. So instead of throwing them away, we repurposed them somewhere else throughout
then you can save them some money too.
Exactly.
Right.
So, that's something that we really enjoy in doing, is assisting in our expertise with their vision and being as cost efficient as possible.
That's really nice. I mean, that's really, just by reading that, I was like, wow, that guy's very, very thankful. Like you said, it could have been a fire, it could have been whatever.
Right. So that was a very fun project for us, and LED retrofitting even on residential properties.
People will use LEDs in their home.
Oh yeah, we'll go into and LEDs aren't the bright,
Okay, that's what I think of.
Yeah, no, LED fixture now, you can go as warm as, 1900, which is very, very yellow. More yellow than what most original, homeowners who despise LEDs have in their house.
I hate white light.
Yeah, so, but nowadays LED does not have to be white light. When they first came out, it was very driven towards, healthcare facilities and stuff like that. That was the market. And then when it first started going into the residential market, that was the only color temperature that they had.
Right.
But now there's warmer color tones.
Well, that's good.
And what it does is, by switching to LED, you can pick the color tone that you want, but it illuminates the space way differently than a traditional halogen or incandescent bulb will.
Right. Well, I saw one picture that I was looking at, and it looked like underlighting that changed color, very dramatic, like dark blue and dark red. Is that an actual fixture?
Yeah. So they make a wide variety of different color changing or color option fixtures that, we utilize sometimes in tape lighting underneath cabinetry in the kitchen.
That's what it looked like. It was like a what was it?
Or it was either under
like a countertop.
Yeah, and that's what I was going to say. On islands, a lot of times we'll run LED tape lighting under the countertop and let it flush the front facade. So either you have like a stacked stone on an exterior summer kitchen area, or in a kitchen you could have really nice cabinetry or wainscoting, etc. on there. And we do a lot of accent lighting with LED tape lighting, if it's a bookshelf or under cabinet, above cabinet.
Well, that's actually cool too, because when you go in, you can actually make suggestions for the homeowner.
Absolutely. And so a lot of times that's what we do, is once the general contractor kind of has a general layout, we'll have a trade meeting with the owner, and we'll look at the plans that are generated, and we can make suggestions
based off your experience and what you've worked with before.
Exactly. And then it's nice because the owners get to talk directly to the subcontractors on, hey, what do you think about this idea? What do you think about this idea? In the plumbing industry, it could be jetted tubs or bidets or rain showers or whatever it may be. And, there's a lot of plumbing contractors out there that have great advice, as we do in the electrical industry, on, I would stay away from this manufacturer or that manufacturer. Or I see your vision you have here, but what do you think about this? This is a really cool design we did on a few projects lately. And that's valuable time to have.
Oh, it is, because I wouldn't know what's out there.
Right. Yeah.
I know what I like, but I have no idea what's available.
Exactly.
But you do.
Yeah.
So.
Well, and something that you like may have a evolution or growth to
better.
It that could be an upgrade you're just simply not aware of because you don't do it for a living.
Exactly. Well, I don't hear music, but the thing up there says we're going to break. So somebody's sleeping in there. All right, everybody stay tuned. We have more BaaD Radio coming up. Well, welcome back, and this portion of the show is brought to you by Frogger's Grill and Bar. The big game is almost here, so mark your calendar to spend it at Frogger's Grill and Bar. They have 4 great locations, so there is bound to be one near you: Oviedo, Mount Dora, and Altamont Springs, and they are all hosting some amazing giveaways, including NASCAR tickets, large screen TVs, our best ever free wings for a year. Frogger's Grill and Bar. Hop in with food and fun.
Yeah, boy.
We're here with Zachary Edler with Impact Electric, and we've been having a great time. And so Frogger's has been a sponsor since the day one. And I told the area manager how the other day you told me to stop posting.
Well, every time you make a post, I get hungry. I'm like, will you not? I called Angela. I'm like, will you please knock it off? I'm getting too hungry over here.
Well, I'm very proud of those posts, though, because we, BaaD Marketing did those photographs.
Right.
Like, we actually did photo shoots on site. And even like these cameras for this stuff, like this is all stuff that we do now that we've become very, very efficient at. So if you go to froggers.com and you look at the menu, all those food photos that are on there are us, our BaaD Marketing. Yeah. So we love the opportunity that we have with them. Tommy was working on one of the graphics last night of the wings, and he was like, "We're gonna have to go get some wings soon." But okay, so we've been talking about so much with the field and your vision and moving forward. But you said some commercial with residential, new home development, and then also remodels.
Yeah. So on the residential side, it's a lot of custom work on the ground up builds, and then a lot of service. So what I tell our residential customers, if you can dream it, we can do it. We can do it pretty darn efficient.
Right.
My crews are very experienced. We have a lot of years under our belts, and we got a lot of years of thinking outside of the box. I had a general contractor call me the other day. He goes, "Hey, Zach, can I bounce something off of you?" He goes, "It's really not electrical related. I just need you to help me think outside the box."
Okay.
And it was more for an exhaust fan and ducting on a mechanical side of the project. But we really pride ourselves in thinking outside of the box,
right,
to get to the finish line for our prospective client at that particular time.
But are you still doing small jobs? Like, I need a ceiling fan or
so
whatever.
This afternoon, yesterday we had 4 service calls. At the end of the day, we installed a pool light, replaced a ceiling fan.
I saw a picture of that. So you guys do pool lighting too.
So we'll go in and replace and upgrade pool lighting for lights that aren't working.
Now, talk about scary.
Yeah, so we had one 3 weeks ago that I put the old wetsuit on and got in.
Really?
And it was a little. There's typically 3 of us that will do the very cold day pool light replacements, and the crew lead Jake, who was there on the job, was not feeling well. He was under the weather, and I'm like, I can't ask him to get in that pool. And that water, I bet you, was around 35, 40 degrees. It was cold.
Oh,
it was cold.
Did you really get in there?
Oh yeah, we had to. I mean, you got to answer the bell. The homeowner needs the pool light replaced. We got to get in there and do it.
Do you still have a wetsuit?
Oh yeah.
Okay, because I thought you were kidding.
Oh no. It's the only way to do it, really, because the water is really so cold, and on certain days we do shift those if we have a front that moves in that I wasn't anticipating or seeing.
Well,
coming.
that week that I came out to take the pictures over at your project,
it was cold.
I had hand warmers.
Yeah,
because my fingers were frozen. But again, all your guys were just as polite as could be. Yes, ma'am. They were very, very open to just taking off their jackets so that we could see the shirts, and even though it was 30 degrees in there.
It was 30 degrees with water coming off wind coming off the lake.
It was.
Yeah.
It was really cold. So I'm actually looking forward to this week because my fingers won't be quite so numb because I can't wear gloves and take the photos at the same time. So I know I jump all over the place, but I can't help it. It's the way my brain works. So did you get to see that house before they?
Yes.
Before...
So I actually walked that house right after the owners closed on it. And
what was it like?
It really had a lot of charm. It was original. It had not been updated
what year
since
was
it was
built.
built.
Do you remember?
Oh, I knew that question was coming a long time ago.
In the 60s?
I would say probably, if I had to guess, 50s to 60s.
Well, I'm saying that based off of like their walk up, and you know how they have like the statues and everything. We don't do that anymore.
Right. So I mean, it was definitely pre-70.
Right.
But I'm not 100% certain because some of those homes through there can really throw you for a loop. on what year it is. You know,
I saw the brick too. So
I love the brick.
I know, you know me. You've been to our house. I'm
Uh-huh.
like, Tommy, I need a brick wall here. I need a brick wall here. Now we have a nice stone wall in the back of our bedroom, which is beautiful, and we're gonna get some lighting. So we'll give you a call.
Yep.
But I was curious because as they're like laying down this wire, I'm like, I wondered what it looked like prior, and I bet it was pretty beautiful.
Yeah, it was beautiful then, and you know the renderings that I've seen on the final product we're moving towards, it's pretty breathtaking.
Are they going ultra modern?
No, not ultra modern,
Okay,
but it's
good.
definitely getting updated. I would say a updated modern traditional, but very far from contemporary.
That
it's
makes
not
me
going to
happy
be
because
contemporary.
it's too beautiful of a house to turn into a museum.
Well, and that's always been the conversation during the design phases. We want to stay true to what the house is. We just want to update it. And like I said, the renderings I've seen, it's certainly going to be something when we get to that finish line.
I bet that has got to be so satisfying.
Well, and you know, it goes back to that industry high that we were talking about in the first hour. You know, you get to see it in the original state of what it is, and then we tear it back to the studs. Well, we don't. Somebody else does.
Right.
And you know, now we're back to the studs, and we're completely rewiring this house to the new vision and the new goal of what it's going to be. And then we get to see the final product, and when we see that project through the whole stages of updating it, and it's really fun because in a lot of other industries, people are working on one specific aspect of a very large project. You know?
Yeah, no, I get it. I mean, with BaaD marketing, I feel the same way. Like when somebody has an idea and they bring it to us, and getting to bring it to life,
Right.
And then seeing, like, I love seeing people's faces or talking to them when they've seen something that's representing their company and they love it. So it's very satisfying. It's probably not as complicated as what you have to do. I remember one guy, he was like, the flat wires are this and the round wires are this. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm glad you know that because that's a lot. So, but okay, so even though you're growing, you're still doing, like I said, those service calls and things like that.
There's no job that's too small or too large for us, you know. And a lot of times I enjoy the small service call because that's when you can really hear somebody's story and really get to talk to a homeowner and just spend a little time being a human.
Right. You get grounded a little bit.
Yeah, and it's really cool. And it's, you know, a lot of times too on some of those smaller service calls, you can really calm the waters in the panic of somebody's day, somebody's fear of what could be by something not working. Do I have a hazard? Is it a potential fire hazard? What may it be? And we can get over there and we can calm the waters, fix the problem, and it's you know, it's a very self-rewarding
I have an electrical
industry.
question. We had two space heaters hooked into an extension cord, and it started to smell. But it wasn't like an electrical smell. It was almost like, I want to say, like a fish type smell. And
So you were probably the extension, what it was plugged into, the plug was burning.
I don't. We just unplugged it all because
so
it started smelling really weird.
Was it as soon as you turned it on?
I can't remember.
Okay, so a lot of times, you know, those power strips that people purchase from Home Depot, et cetera,
Right.
you know, you go in and a lot of people will pick up the ones that are $10, $12, $14, you know what I mean? And those are fine for temporary use.
Right.
Don't have those around your house for 5, 6, 7, 10 years without ever replacing them.
And do space heaters cause a lot of
So
power?
space heaters are quite a bit of a current draw on them.
Is that what it is?
And, you know, it's essentially like plugging in a blow dryer.
Yes.
You know, they're typically anywhere from 12 to 1,600 watts, somewhere along those, unless it's just a little tiny one, you know, but
Man,
something
is
to
it
keep
time
in mind.
Oh my gosh. All right. I can't believe it's break time already. But anyway, so we still have another segment. So everybody stay tuned. We have more BaaD Radio coming up. Welcome back. And this portion of the show is brought to you by Liberty Property Inspections. Your home is one of your most important investments, so don't trust it to just anyone. LibertyPropertyInspections.net, helping you to protect your investment. And we're here with Zachary Edler with Impact Electric. And actually, it was Liberty Property Inspections that did the home inspection that was like, listen, your unit, your electrical box has been recalled, and she was like, she was very straightforward, and she goes, I have to write this down,
Right.
and so your insurance company is going to have you replace this because it had been recalled.
Right.
But it was like, I don't know, 30 years old or something.
Yep.
So I can't even, I mean, like, how long has it been sitting in my house since it's been recalled?
Well, they lost you had Federal Pacific Electric. They lost their UL listing back in the 70s. And, the thing about it is a lot of homeowners will say, Zach, I've had this in here, I've lived here for 25 years. I've never had a problem. Well, that's why they lost their UL listing. Because they don't do what they're supposed to do.
What do you mean?
So UL listing was what is deemed to be safe and in use for a electrical component. FPE breakers don't trip when they're supposed to trip. So a lot of people are like, Jack, I've never had an FPE breaker trip in my house.
And you've probably been super close to your house burning down.
Yeah, well, I just tell them, you should be thankful for that you've never had a problem.
So is the tripping a safety mechanism?
Yeah, so when a breaker trips, it's because something on that circuit is not proper. So with those breakers, FPE, Zinsco, ITE, Challenger, those are all breakers that are manufacturers that are not approved or accepted by insurance companies. And, when a breaker trips, it's telling you, hey, there's a problem. Something's
I've never thought of it like that. I always just thought of it as a pan to play.
Yeah, so, a lot of times people will say, Zach, I don't want to replace it. My insurance company says I need to, but I don't want to. I've never had a problem with it.
That's what I feel about my hot water heater.
Yeah, and, a lot of contractors, what I hear from homeowners and business owners in my industry, will play the fear game, the fear tactic. And I personally don't believe in it. It's never been one of our sales tactics. Our sales tactic is to inform homeowners and business owners of what we see when we're out there, and then let them make the decision that's best for them, their business, or their family. Because we all have budgets. We all have money go in different ways. And I will never try to pressure somebody into committing to a job based off of fear. Yeah. I'll never try and pressure somebody into committing to a job, period.
But you're going to give them the proper information.
We're going to educate them on things they may or may not have ever been told because they don't do this for a living. And we're going to let them make what decision's best for them.
Yeah, I like the people. You're going to die if you don't get your tires changed.
Well, I mean, I've had homeowners call me and say, hey, Zach, I just had someone in my house said my house is going to burn down tonight.
Oh, my God.
Can you come take a look? And I'm like, well, the chances of your house burning down tonight, let me shake my magic 8-ball. I said, it is probably pretty low. Now, does that mean you don't have things that need to be addressed? Yeah, probably so. But you could budget to make these replacements or these upgrades. It's not something I'm going to tell you your house is going to burn down tonight.
Yeah, we had to replace our AC last couple of months, and we had one company out there, and they are pressuring me so bad, and I was like, listen, no,
right,
go away. I'm gonna call somebody else.
It's
like save myself like $5,000.
Yeah.
And they also were able to put a Band-Aid on our other one until they could get the right unit to come out. So, it was just I was very annoyed, let's put it that way.
Yeah,
and they did not get our business because of it.
Yeah, and it's just my personal belief as the head of this company that that's not how I want to portray or provide estimates to homeowners. We're not going to do it under a pressure situation. We're not going to do it where the homeowner or business owner feels uncomfortable. We're just going to educate you and present you with an estimate at what we can execute your scope for.
Right. Well, let's talk about your process. Yep. So, somebody wants to, let's just say, my daughter is going to be buying a home, and do you do the inspection and we want to get some work done.
Yep.
So just walk us through the process of how that would work.
A lot of times either it's an initial phone call or text message that comes in, right? And I always request that they text over their first and last name, address, and a brief recap of our phone conversation.
Okay.
Where I can copy and paste it with a little substance to my schedule, where I can reference it later. And then once we go out, we'll take a look and see what is desired to be executed. At that time, I'll generate an estimate. I can typically have an estimate turned around in 48 to 72 hours, depending on the scope and the workload that I'm under.
Have you ever walked into a place and said, nope,
well,
and walked back out?
I've walked into a place and I've had brutally honest conversations on budget numbers and the amount of work that was going to be needed. But no, I tend to not say no. I like a challenge. I like to be, somebody that a lot of homeowners call us throughout the year. Hey, Zach, we've had multiple companies, contractors out on our property. They said that this can't be done. Well, I like to be.
That sounds like a challenge.
Right. I like the challenge. I like to think outside of the box, and more times than not, we can find a way to get it done.
That's really, really cool. Yeah. So they call, and then so you do, do they have to pay you to come out and do that walkthrough?
So depending on who it is, what the scope is, where it's located, will dictate if there is an estimate fee or not. Majority of the time, estimates are provided at no cost.
Right.
And that's just because a lot of times we can talk over the phone. We can get to the nitty gritty of what's needing to be done.
Right.
And
so is that like the more information you can get, the better?
Of course, because there's sometimes when somebody just wants a ballpark idea on what it's going to cost, to where they can budget and plan for, say, I get a phone call today, budget and plan for a project in September. Hey, Zach, I want to add 20 recess cans throughout my house.
Right.
What's a good number for me to start to work towards where I can
that's
have
really
you
good.
out?
So that's something, too, is like you have a lot of jobs that are like scheduled pretty far out.
Oh, yeah. And a lot of jobs that, I may be out meeting with homeowners or business owners today, and those jobs may not come to fruit until quarter 3 or quarter 4 of this year.
Yeah.
And that kind of goes back to, we're not out there to pressure you. We're out there because a lot of people will have a vision and have no idea how much it costs.
Right.
So, once we provide you that estimate, it's okay if it takes you 3, 4, 5 months to want to do it.
Right.
We would be more than happy to execute it 5 months from now for you.
See, one thing that I'm learning as being the business owner is budgeting for the month and saying like, okay, I have this budget I need to meet.
Yep.
These are the jobs that I have coming in.
Yep.
I need to do X amount in order to get to where I need to be. So do you have to play a lot of that too? Or are you kind of at a point now where you're like, you know what, I have enough regular business coming in that I don't need to really specifically worry about how many deals I have to close?
Well, it's not so much how many deals do I have to close at this point. It's more so planning. It's always the same constant budget planning from an administrative side.
That's the hard part of being a business owner.
It is, and it's planning for a rainy day as well.
Yep.
Because you always got to project and plan out to the future to be able to take care of your employees
and your family, because there's this tariff. You hear all these things, and it's like, oh my God, gas is going to go up. This is going,
Right.
And we've got people that are like doomsday.
Right. Yeah, and taking care of your family. My wife and kids are at home sick today listening. So I hope you guys are feeling better. I love you guys.
Well, we've had a sick house too, unfortunately. It's going around.
Yeah.
In our BNI chapter, we had like 5 people out that were sick.
Yeah.
Both of them were our presenters too.
Yeah.
So.
but going back to the budget thing, it's not it's something you constantly have to plan for. And one of my favorite games is not what's my budget today. It's how little can I spend today to have for tomorrow.
Yeah.
What can I have for tomorrow for my guys on unforeseen expenses on we got so many trailers and trucks on the road. We're constantly getting nails. We need tires. We need this.
Oh my gosh,
so
yes.
if you don't,
I can only imagine.
If you don't plan and you don't project out, then you're just a stressed out employee or owner that nobody wants to be around.
Right.
And my guys will probably listen to this and they'll say, "Boss, that's you some days." But that's okay, and that's just part of it. But yeah, I mean, it's always a constant budget game and constant planning.
You seem to hold it very
owner.
Balanced, though. I am learning the balance.
Yeah, and the balance is hard, and I got a lot of great advisors on my side, on my growth team, and in my corner, that I rely heavily on for stress control and balance.
Can't believe it's already break time. All right, music means break. So guess what? We're going to break. Everybody stay tuned. We have more BaaD Radio coming up. Welcome back. I want to give a huge thank you to our sponsors, Forge IT Consulting, providing a fully outsourced IT department with a personal touch for small business. Get Me Automated. Ashley and her team are ready to make your life easier with automation. And Osteopathic Health of Orlando. We have a new sponsor, and Sean St. Marie's his doctor, and he's pretty amazing. He's like Emily, you know. Yeah. I mean, he's a little bit different because he's actual, like a family practice doctor, but he has the same methodology as far as talk about your hormones and getting to the root of the cause, and we're just real happy to have him on as a sponsor. All right, so we've filled this whole show, and I remember you saying, you're like, I don't know if we can do that. I was like, trust me, Zach, we can. So Zachary Edler with Impact Electric, and so I am so happy that your business is doing as well as it's doing, and kudos to your team as well, because they have, they play a part in as well.
The guys, the office team, everybody plays a huge part in who we are. I tell the guys every day, this is bigger than who one of us as an individual are. This is way bigger than me. I have nothing to do with this. I was just the one that gets to be the face of it and enjoy it.
Yeah.
But I could not do this without my field guys. My field guys are the best men I've ever stood shoulder to shoulder with. And, like we previously talked about, they really, down to their core, believe in our, what we were founded on, and our beliefs and how we want to treat people and how we want to execute electrical work, and the pride they take in executing the electrical work, and the experience that homeowner or business owner gets is why we are who we are.
Sometimes when you meet a young person coming up, or you're like, okay, that's a smart cookie right there.
Yeah,
I'm going to take that person and I'm going to train them, and they're going to be mine.
I tried to do it this morning at the gym. I offered a gentleman a job this morning at the gym, and he's a younger guy. But he has a work ethic. He's at the gym every day. He's there before 6:15 every single morning. And I asked him, I said, hey, what do you do for work? How old are you? And he goes, I'm 21. I'm going to college. And I said, you want a job? Because it starts with a work ethic.
Right.
You know what I mean? And we can, my guys can teach that because it's so contagious,
Right.
And once again, throughout these 2 hours that we've talked about, we constantly go back to my guys, because my guys are everything. They're the pulse of the business. And, it's so contagious, the attitude and the drive that they have, that you can give me a young man and they will teach him how to work.
Right.
They'll teach him how to grow up.
Right.
And how to, yes, ma'am, no, ma'am, because.
But they have to have it right here.
Well, they do.
Yeah.
And most of them, when you get around a group of guys, like I had a company meeting. We were on a very large project. I had all my guys there, and I kind of called everybody in. I was heading out to go to a meeting, and I'm standing there, and you've seen most of my guys. Most of my guys are pretty large men. You know, we're 6 foot and above, most of us, and some of them are over 6'3". Wow. And I'm standing around, and it's just a surreal feeling to see so many guys, men, being a part of the Impact Electric brand now.
Right.
And we're really just enjoying the ride and seeing where it takes us.
But you take care of them. I know you've when I say parties, I'm not talking about like a keg but you put celebrations together for them.
Yeah, we do. We go to Top Golf as a company.
That's fun.
And we have them, my wife and I, Nikki and I, have them over to a residence at the end of the year, and we've been doing a big seafood boil at the end of the year.
Oh wow,
and,
that's fun.
Yeah, and I cook it myself, and it's something it's a very special time for my wife and I to say thank you to them.
Right.
And it's a very special time for me to sit back and see them being around the fire pit and seeing my guys just relaxing. But
that means that they actually like each other.
Yeah,
and that's pretty special.
At the end of the day, if you don't like each other, you're probably not going to stay long, because we're with each other from sun up to sundown.
Right.
Most of my nucleus, they're in at the shop at 5:15, 5:20 in the morning, getting loaded up, and last night I'm sitting around, kicking the can with two of them, and it's well past dark.
Right.
And we're just sitting around talking and, kind of shooting the crap. It was kind of a fun time. But, we try to do a lot of things outside of electrical work together, even if it's just a small cookout on the weekend or something like that.
That's wonderful. And one thing I always wanted to instill in our children is to have a trade.
Yeah.
And I think that I feel like the trades are starting to come back around. I don't know. Is there any truth to that? Or
Well, I've had some conversations with some public school officials, that are elected school officials, that we're having conversations on how can we get the trades in front of these high schoolers? How can we educate them that it's okay to go into trade work? And what I mean by it's okay is, the mantra has always been you have to go to college. You have to go.
Right.
It's been the mantra my whole life. I went to college. I got a 4-year degree while I was working full-time in the field. It's great.
Right.
It has its purpose. Not everybody's built for college. I'm not built for college.
Right.
I had to fight to get through it.
I hated college.
I had to fight to get through it. But, you can go into a trade if you're a hardworking young man or woman.
Right.
And you can make good money being in a trade.
And the thing is lots of times, what I say is get a trade, something that you can hang your hat on, and you will always have a job.
Yep.
You will always be employable.
Yeah.
And you can, lots of the times, you can make your own hours.
Yep.
You can do your own thing. And I think that's what I understand the people are like, oh, you're a plumber. Oh, you know what I mean? I'm like, that plumber's always going to have a job.
Right.
And you computer programmer or whatever it is, you might not. So
yeah, and I think the trades are making a comeback.
I do too.
Some of the challenges that we face is, getting younger generations to understand it's a process of learning a trade.
Right.
It doesn't happen overnight. It doesn't happen in a year. You're not going to be able to obtain what your parents have worked 30 years for in year 2.
Right.
It's just unrealistic. But they didn't have what they have now when they were 20.
Right.
So, the younger generations have to understand that. But, there's a lot of youth that we're seeing out on job sites, and it is encouraging, because we're so depleted in the construction industry for labor that it's something that really does need to be addressed, or if 5 to 7 years, it could be ugly.
No, I totally agree.
You call an electrician or a plumber and they tell you they're 8 months out from coming to change out your kitchen sink.
Yeah, no, exactly. And like I said, I think that if something doesn't change, then that's exactly where we're going to be.
Right. And, a lot of people are like, Zach, can you make good money in trades? You can make good money in trades. You can make good money if you go to college. It's what your individual drive is. I know guys who went to college that make a lot more money than individuals who are working for me. And I know the guys who work for me are making a lot more money than some people who went to college. So it's all about who you are, the drive you have, and what you want out of life. You got to I tell my young guys all the time, you have to find something that you can have passion in. So at the end of the week, you're compensated for your input.
Absolutely.
And if it's not this company, for your own mental health, go and find something else to do.
Yeah, I love that.
They don't owe anything to me. I want them to be happy. I want them to find something that inspires them. And at the end of the week, hopefully it's enough money to pay for what they want in life.
Yep, I think that's wonderful. Well, I can't even believe it, but look at it. We're almost there at the end of the show. Go ahead and give everybody all your contact information. We got like a minute, so you can take your time.
Yeah, so the best way to get a hold of me is my cell phone, and my cell phone number is 407-747-0874.
Are you looking at your own cell phone number right now?
No, I'm looking to see if my wife texted me so I could see how she's feeling.
Because I'm like, does he not know his own phone number?
The best way to get a hold of me, though, is on my cell phone.
Mm-hmm. Well, thanks for being a guest.
Yeah,
and
thanks for
really
having me.
Love having you back in here. We're going to have you on again very soon. And I want to give you a huge thank you to our sponsors. And thank you for tuning in. Have a great week. And remember, everyone, to support local.